Data passing between two components is a very common phenomenon in React. We have learned how to do it using props in the last video. Hey, this is Tapas. Today we are going to learn about Context API, another way of exchanging data between two components and more. So in this video, we are going to learn what is Context API and when we should use it. But before we get started, I would like to request you to subscribe to this channel. I keep sharing a lot of good content here. Alright, without any further delay, let's get started. So let's get started with Context API with the help of a story. We are going to discuss a story of a family. Okay, so whatever you see, the blocks on your screen, consider them as different React components. So it means you have a components called app.js, then you have family.jsx, then you have parent.jsx, you have children.jsx, grandson and granddaughter.jsx. And this is a family where there is a parent, there is a children, and there are grandchildren like grandson and granddaughter. Tomorrow, this family can even grow further. There could be other children and their grandchildren up from the grandson and granddaughter. That's what we see at the bottom in this hierarchy. Okay, now that's not the story. The story is coming now. This particular family has a secret, and this secret has to get passed from each of this component to component. It has to come to parent for the parent to know what is the secret about. Then it has to come to children for children to know like what is the secret about. Then it has to go to grandson, granddaughter, and so on. Now, if you consider each of this block as individual React components, so the secret that we have to pass from one component to another component, from parent to child, can be passed as props. We have learned in the previous section like how to pass as props. Each of the component has their private state, but when they want to talk to each other, they actually talk to each other in terms of passing props. That's a very good, very regular practice that can be followed. But when the hierarchy is too much and you have to pass something very much deep down, that passing props could be overwhelming. And we also discussed about something called props drilling in our last video. The props drilling problem also can be appeared. So to mitigate that, we have mentioned about a couple of ways of doing it. One of the way is using Context API. So in this video, now we are going to get down with some kind of hands-on coding where we'll understand that what is the problem that we are facing with passing these props, and then refactor the same code to use the Context API. So we will take forward this story into code where we have this family with a parent, children, and all other aspects. We'll pass the secret as a props throughout, then refactor that by using the Context API to solve the problem of props passing down deep into the hierarchy. Alright, so let's get into the code. I have created all the components over here that we have seen in the family hierarchy. So we have app.js. Inside app.js, we have a component called family. And if I go inside family, what I'm going to see, I'm seeing something called parent. So you can think about this is family. Inside family, we have something called parent. So this is parent. So once we go inside parent, we are going to see, we are going to see this H1. This is the parent H1. And then there is another component called children, right? So if I go inside children, what I'm going to see is like another H2 called children, which is nothing but this one. And then there are two more components called grandson and granddaughter. So if I go inside grandson now, what I'm going to see over here is the H3 grandson. And then similarly, if I go back to children and then go to granddaughter, I'm going to see one H3 with granddaughter, which is this one. And I put some styling around just to kind of separate them out so that they look like, they are separate components. We have a parent component, then inside that we have children, inside children we have grandson, we have granddaughter, and parent is inside family. So this is what the hierarchy we have seen just a while ago, and we saw like, okay, this is how the family tree has been formed. Now what we're going to do is like, first we are going to put certain information like a family secret, pass through this particular the hierarchy and see like how that particular information reach from parent to children to each of these grandchildren. Okay, so let's see that. In the app.js file, I have added an object called family secret, and the family secret object has few property. So one of the property is a family name and the value is the Smiths, and there are few functions. Basically there's some keys which are actually having value as functions, so it means that if I can invoke this function using this key. We'll see that later. The two functions we have, like only parent can see there is some secret message, and only grandchildren should know there is some secret message. So this particular family secret, now my objective is to pass to this family so that this particular message get passed to parent, children, and all other grandchildren in hierarchy, right? So to do that, let's do the required modification. So first thing is we are going to pass it as a prop. So we'll do like secret. You can give actually any name, as we know, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass this family secret to this one, right? So now the family has the family secret, the root node of the family got the family secret. Now it's time that we are going to pass this down. So for that I'm going to go to family, and as I am passing the prop secret, what I can do very easily over here is like I can do the restructuring. So I put the secret over here, and then I can do console.log of secret, so that I know like the secret has got passed correctly, just as a measure, and then pass this secret back to the parent. So what we'll be doing over here, we'll be passing this one to the parent. So from family, the secret has reached to the parent. Now as the parent is having this secret, what parent will do is like parent can pass it further, pass it down basically to the children and so the grandchildren. As you see, this console.log from family.jsx line number 5. So the secret has got passed correctly to the parent. So let's go inside parent, and over here similarly what we can do, basically we can again take the destructure the secret. So we are doing destructuring the secret, and then what we can do over here, we can do few things. For example, we can first do like change this one a little bit, and if you have noticed that family secret having something called a family name, so let us just print that family name over here. So say parent, give a space, dollar, say secret dot family name, and then I'll be closing this one, right? So this is the one. Just to be very sure, I'm going to go to app.js and then copy this family name, coming back to this parent, and I'm going to paste this one so that I don't face any kind of typo. So we have this one over here. Now if you see the secret that we have passed, in that particular secret we also have something called only parent can see. So what we can do is like this particular secret is having that method. So before we pass it to the children, maybe I can actually do a p tag, and inside this p tag I can just print things like secret dot, and then similarly kind of copy this particular function like only parent can see, and I am just printing over there. So now I'm expecting once I save this change, I have this secret passed to parent. Now from there I'm extracting the family name. So this parent space family name, it will come over here, and then there will be a p tag below which will print the secret message like only parent can see over here. So we have passed the secret message till parent. We are yet to pass to the children and grandchildren. So let's save and see what is the output right now. As expected, we see parent the Smith, the family name has got printed, and we see the Smiths at the best was the message that only parent can see. Great. So far so good. Now the next thing is like we have to pass this again down deep to the children. So we will do like same secret equals to, we are passing this particular secret down to the children. So let's pass this to the children. So children has got this particular secret. Now the next thing that we'll be doing, as usual, we are going to children, right? So similar thing we are going to do is like passing this secret back to the children. We have the secret over here. The next thing what we can do is like similarly how we did with the parent, maybe we can actually write something like children and then just do a space, and then do this expression like say secret dot family name. And if you remember that the children didn't have any particular message over here, because the next message that we have only grandchildren should know, that means we are okay with just providing the family name to the children and then go ahead and pass the secret again to the grandchildren, like to the grandson and to the granddaughter. So for that, I'm just going to copy this and pass these two secrets over there. We will save it and we'll see like what exactly the output. So we are expecting now children will have their family name the Smith. There is no particular message to over here, and we have just passed the secret to both the grandchildren but haven't done anything with it. That we are going to do right away. So let's save this and let's see the output. As expected, we are seeing children the Smith is got printed over here. Now what we'll do is, like as usual, we'll go to grandson. So first let's go to grandson. Grandson. Here we will be passing the secret back again. So let's do that. We'll do the secret over here. So secret we have done. Now here in the grandson, we can actually do something like we can print like the grandson's surname. Similarly, whatever we have done over there. So grandson and then space, say secret dot family name, right? And what we'll be doing is basically we will be putting the dollar so that we can actually treat this one like an expression. Okay, so this is done. And now the next thing, okay, this is going to be outside. Yeah, the next thing is like, as you have noticed, like in the family secret, there is a message for grandchildren. So in the grandson one, we are going to add another paragraph saying that we are going to print something that only grandchildren should know. So here we will do secret dot invoking this particular method, and that's all. The grandson component is ready. Similarly, we'll be doing the exactly same thing with the granddaughter component. So let's do the granddaughter component as well. Control P, granddaughter. We have done the granddaughter component exactly the same thing, showing the family name and then the secret message. So if you see the output, now we have the family name with each of them, and there is a secret message for the grandchildren, same secret message that they are the best, and parent is also having a secret message. Children doesn't have a secret message. Now our application is complete. We have accomplished whatever we wanted to accomplish. Like we are passing this particular family secret all the way down to the grandchildren. So tomorrow, if they have a grandchildren, we have to pass this one further down. Then their children further down have to keep going with the props. So one of the problem that we can recognize over here is like that the props that we are seeing right now, we are passing too much way down, right? So for example, if there are more and more children in the hierarchy, we have to keep passing these props. And this family secret is something which is really not changing on the way down, right? It's something that is kind of constant, and we are expected to kind of pass to each of the node, to each of the children, for them to know like what the family secret is. So this is where one of the problem that we can recognize with the props passing. Props is very good. It's a very good way to communicate between the parent and children. But in a case where you have to really pass an information which is like too much way down in the hierarchy, you may find it little bit overwhelming. You may find it something which is like little cumbersome, and you want to find an alternate route. And that alternate route is with context. So next, what we are going to do, we are going to change this program that we have just now written with context. We are going to refactor it, and we will see like how it is saving us from passing these props through the hierarchy way down, and things gets more flexible. And after that, we'll talk about some kind of differentiation between the usage of when to use props versus when to use context kind of thing. Okay, so let's go and change this particular code using context right now. Before we change coding, we have to first give the answer of what is context. I think that's a very legitimate answer to give. So let's try to give the answer of what is context in React and understand, and then we'll get back to the coding. Okay, so the first thing first, the context is something, some information that is available globally. Globally in the sense, the information that is available in the application for the components to access globally. Okay, so when you say globally, it not always mean that it is available for every component everywhere. If you want, you can actually make it available partially to a set of component in a hierarchy. So you can determine in the hierarchy, you want this information to be available fully in the all the children, or you want them to be available only partial in the application. That is completely up to you and your business case. Then the next thing, there will be a context provider. It means somebody will provide this information to all the underlying children, and these children where it is supposed to give the information, those children will be wrapped within the provider. Okay, so there will be a provider. The provider will provide this information, which is like context information, to all the children that will be wrapped by the provider. We'll see that in the code. Then the next thing is like for every children that are wrapped by the provider, they can consume this information that is available as a context. Now to extract this information, they have to use a special hook called useContext from React. We'll be seeing that. And the last thing that we want to see is there could be multiple contexts in an application. That's where the second point, you can determine in the hierarchy whether you want to make something available fully or partially. Depending on that, there could be multiple contexts. There could be only one context in the entire application. That means only one information that is kind of globally available to the components, or there could be multiple some such set of information that is available only on bunch of components in the bunch of hierarchy in your React component set. Right? We are going to see that, we are going to understand that. So if you see a React application, we'll be able to see like there will be a provider, and the provider is providing certain context, and there will be consumer. There could be multiple providers. That's what we are seeing, the left side and right side. Think about a single React application. This provider probably providing certain information about search context, like user putting some search term into the text box, hitting enter, and the search term goes, do some kind of searching, find out the result, and the result putting into some kind of context. That could be the search context. Here it is about the user context, the logged in user context. Once user logged in, whether the user is authenticated logged in, that user information, making it available in the entire application as a context. This could be another context. There could be another context for theme. You want to control the dark or light theme in your application. For that, you might want to create another context. So there could be multiple contexts, and for each of the contexts, there will be a provider that will give that information, the context information, and there will be consumers who will be consuming this information. All the consumers must be wrapped by the providers, the respective providers that is providing this particular context. Now, if you have this information, if you have noted down this information in your brain or notebook, let's start changing the code that you have written using props, and you will see like how the context is coming to use. All right, so let's get into that. All right, so now we'll be removing all the props and we'll be replacing them with context. Now React provides few APIs for us to deal with context, the concept that we learned just now. One of the API is for creating the context. For that, what we have to do, we just need to import React, and we have to call this method called react.createContext. React.createContext is going to give us a context that we are holding in this particular variable, and then we are exporting from this file so that we can import it elsewhere and we can get the context value. Okay, so this is what it is. Now, while you are creating the context, you can pass any initial value to this createContext method as a parameter. The value can be anything, a number, string, object, array, you can pass anything. So it means the context will be initialized with a value, and after that we can always override this value whenever we need, right? We can override this value in different ways. So we can actually do that. So now we have created a context called family context. It is created inside a file called familycontext.js. We are exporting the context from here so that we can import the context everywhere possible to extract the context value. How to extract the context value, we will see in a while. Okay, so first thing is we'll come to app.js file. In app.js file, we have seen this code already. We have done it with the props, by passing the props, this particular family secret. So what I have done here is all the code that we have written in terms of props, I have copied that in a separate folder called context, and inside that I have created this familycontext.js file, and rest of the code is just copied from this prop drill folder that we have actually coded some time back. So that what we'll be doing is like we'll be start changing all this code to have this context. Right now it all has props. We are going to change all these things to have the context. And as I've just copied the code, this is still pointing to the family which is inside the prop dill package. But what we'll be doing, the first thing is like we'll be changing this to context. So first code is to changing it to context. Okay. So now it is pointing to the family which is inside the context package. So first thing is done. Now the next thing that we are going to do over here is like we are going to remove this guy. We don't need these props. We are saying that we won't be dealing with the props at all. Rather, we'll be doing everything using context. Now, as we want to do everything using context, we have to get the context in this file. So first we'll be importing the family context that we have created from that particular file. And okay, so family context, and then we will be doing it from, oh, this autocomplete, I hate it sometime. And then we'll be doing it from the context folder that I have imported. I'll just close it so that we can see the entire code. Now we have this family context over here. Now, one of the theory that we have learned just now is like the context actually has a provider. So we can do like family context dot provider, and this provider can take a value. In this value, we are passing this information which we want to make available on everything that is this particular provider is wrapping. In our case, the provider is wrapping the family component. So it means the family component and all its children in the hierarchy will have the access to this value called family secret through the context. How to retrieve that value, we'll see it in a while. But first let's close this and let's try to see like what is happening over here. I'll save this. And as you see, everything is broken. I don't have this UI anymore because I have to now make changes to each of these component. So let's go to the family component first and let's see what is in the family component. So the family component is basically taking a secret. It was taking a props, so we don't need these props anymore. And it was basically printing it. We don't need to print it anymore. It was passing this. We don't have to pass it anymore. So we don't have to do any of these things. So if you see, we are just calling another component called parent over here. So whatever is there inside this family is not really of much use. We could have just called parent directly inside the app.js, but we are doing it now because we were using the props and passing it this way. But after refactoring, we can actually lift this up one level and get rid of family completely. We can use the parent basically directly inside the app.js. We can do this refactoring if we want. But for our case, our understanding, we'll proceed. We'll now, next thing what we'll do is like we'll now go inside parent and see what is the case. So once you go inside the parent, we see that we have this, the secret pass as a props. So first thing what we're going to do is like, we're going to take out the props. But we also see that this particular secret is used to extract certain information. Now, instead of taking it from the props, what we are going to do, we are going to extract this out from the context. Now, to extract this out from the context, the first thing that we would need is the context itself. So what we'll do is like, we'll be first importing the context, family context from, /family context. So this is the first thing we'll do. Now to extract it out, to extract this one out, the information from the family context, we need a special thing from React called the useContext hook. useContext from React. All right, so we have this hook. Now how do we get it? It's simple. We call useContext and then pass family context. Pass family context. This return me the information that I have stored in this particular context, the family context. In this case, the family secret. So we'll do like const secret equals to useContext family secret. Now the secret has the same secret that we were passing through the props, but instead of taking from the props, I'm taking from here. So I can actually make use of this over here. I can do this. I can do all these things. So if I save this one, so let's see the kind of output. So I'm getting this output back. Right, I'm getting this output back. So it means the secret that I could have retrieved, I could retrieve really well from the context correctly. But I won't be again passing this secret as a props because I want to kind of break this props thing altogether. So what I'll be doing is basically I'm going to remove this again, and next thing I'll be doing is basically I'll be getting into the children, and similarly I'll be getting the context and the use context over there, and I'll be retrieving the secret from the context instead of taking it from the props. So I'll be going inside this, the children. I'm just importing this thing, and then what we'll be doing, this a single line, say const secret equals to use context of, say, family context. So what we have now, similarly, I have taken the secret from the context, and the same secret is being used as a family name. Same secret I am passing, that also I will be changing. So here I have made certain error which I have to check. Okay, let's see what error I have made. The error is nothing but I was passing this props, which is no more required. I don't need to pass this props. So I have just removed that and taking it from the secret altogether. So things are again working. But again, I don't want to pass this as a props, right, into the grandson and the granddaughter also. So basically the same change that you can do. You can pass it from the grandson. You can actually just pass this off, just remove it from the granddaughter. And instead of that, you can now go to the grandson and the granddaughter and just do the same thing. Take basically things from the context and then assign it to a variable, things will start working. So let's do that. I have done it for grandson now. So grandson is having the secret coming from the context, and I'm calling the function like only grandchildren should know. So we can do the same thing with the granddaughter as well. So let's go ahead and start changing granddaughter. So we'll go to granddaughter. As I change granddaughter to the similar fashion to take the secret from the context, I get this UI back, just like how I was getting from the props. So let's do a quick overview of what we have done just now. Okay, so we had something called app.js, right? So we'll first start from there, right? From the app.js. So in this app.js, now we are actually using the family from this context, okay? Because we don't want to touch things on the prop drill that we have seen before. We have a secret called family secret. We have created a context called family context, and the provider of the family context is having a value called family secret. And we have wrapped the family and its entire hierarchy with the provider. So it means this particular secret is now available to family and all its children throughout. Now the family is not doing really much other than calling the parent. We could have just get rid of family, and instead of that we could have taken this JSX and lifted it up into the app.jsx itself. So this is another thing that you need to look forward to, right? When you are passing the props too much down the line, before you go and use context, you have to see whether you have to refactor certain JSX to lift it up one level than actually having it as a separate component altogether. So this is one classic case of that. We could have just taken this out in one level up in the app.jsx itself, this JSX. Okay, fine. So we'll go with the flow. Now next what we'll do is like we go to the parent. In parent, now we are not taking these props anymore, rather using this context, family context, and the use context hook from React to get the context value over here, and same context value we are using. And the same thing is happening for the children, same thing is happening for grandson, same thing is happening for granddaughter, all the way. So there is no props, we are just using the context. So I hope you understood now the context of the context basically, how to use context, and how it can be an alternate of data communication between your child and the parent, child to parent, parent to child, and things like that. Now before we finish this video, I just want to talk about few things. Context is very tempting to use. Everybody would like to use context the moment they know like how to use it, because you store some data and you will be able to get some data from anywhere. So as it is very tempting to use, I would suggest that please think before you start using it. Props is the best way as long as you want to pass information down from the parent to child. That is the best way. But if it is something very overwhelming and going too much deep down, think about two cases. First case is like, are you using component like, after doing very small components, and it is like too much of component that using that you need to kind of get rid of. Maybe the JSX of that component you have to lift up and use it in the another component. The one we just now saw between the family and parent and the app.jsx. So if that is the case, you have to take care of that. If that is not the case, you can actually go for context, but again think whether you need context very globally, or you need it only for partially. For example, the context can be created only between children to grandson and grandson's children, grandson's grandchildren, and like that. You can create only for that hierarchy, the hierarchy that is required. You may not want it globally. And again, you can use context with, say, reducers. Reducers we are going to learn in our future videos. So you can use context with reducers. That is when it will be like much more powerful, much more meaningful of usage of context. So don't use context very loosely before you try to use props as much as possible. And if you can't use props, there are a lot of complexity in that and you need to have context. Yes, go for context. It's an awesome thing to kind of deal with. So I hope this video was quite useful to you and now you're going to learn about it. So one exercise that you can actually start taking by using the context is like try to build a small application where you can have this dark and light theme. It is kind of that this particular application example available throughout on internet. You can actually go read about it and create it, but from this video, whatever you learn, you can just think about, okay, how am I going to create a global object, which is like a theme object, which has a background color and the text color, some default value, and which is default value for the dark and the light theme. You will be passing that as a provider and it will be passed through the entire application. Now there will be a button somewhere which you click and it will change the value of the light to dark and dark to light, and your rest of the application's theme gets changed. Try to build that and find me on Twitter, find me on LinkedIn, wherever it is. If you are building it and if you're facing any issues, let's talk, let's discuss, post certain comments, on the comment of this video with your difficulty. I'll make sure I'll get back to you, or catch me on Twitter DM. I'll get back to you with the difficulty that you have in building this application. Okay, so looking forward to you that you will be building some application using context. All right, so until then, take a very good care of yourself. Next in the React series, we'll start talking about Redux. We'll be talking about store, Redux, we'll be talking about reducers and all these concepts going forward. Okay, so stay tuned to that, and please subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet. I keep sharing a lot of good videos in this particular channel. Thank you very much. Take a great care of yourself. Talk to you soon and see you soon.